Good morning, everybody. Testing, testing. Mr. Hurt, can you come off mute to confirm that we have your audio, or you, Ms. Fagan?
Okay, I just looked down there and see, and I'm on. Can you hear me?
I do.
Great.
Thank you so much for confirming. How are you this morning?
I'm blessed by the best. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Mr. Hurt, maybe he stepped away, so I'm going to mute you. I have to step away for a minute.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm here.
There you are. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Great. I'm trying to move things around so we can get started here in just a minute.
Okay.
I need to step away, but I will be right back.
All right.
Oh God, where is? So we're going to give folks a few more minutes to join. There's nobody in the waiting room right now, so
Okay.
let me make sure we send out reminders.
All right. How is everyone doing today?
Doing good. Doing good.
Wonderful. Blessed by the best.
I like that.
I appreciate the invite. Hopefully I can be of value to everyone on the call today.
I'm sure you will.
What do you do, Mr. Hurt?
Oh, no, you can't. We're gonna tell you all about it.
Oh my.
It's gonna be so enlightened. So if you just give us a couple of minutes, you'll learn all about what Mr. Foster does, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Foster, they call you Junior?
They do not. My mother and my dad were very smart and gave me the second instead of Junior. Nothing against anybody named Junior. I prefer the second, over Junior. So
Look at you. Sounding all prestigious, like the second coming of Christ. Okay.
you know what I'm saying? You see, that's why second, right?
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Bro, yeah, that's why I like the second, because the second just sounds
Right.
a bit more.
Okay, because the
Second just
first
sounds a
time
bit
is
more
nice, but the second time around is always better.
You know what I'm saying? 2 times twice. Twice is nice.
Any of your
All
sons
right.
named after you? If you had kids, you have boys named after you?
I don't have any kids just yet, but I'm if I do have a son, he will be the third.
All right, okay.
He will be the third.
You're gonna do the George Foreman. The most sons you have, they're just gonna go down the list.
Exactly.
1, 2, 3,
Just
4.
gonna go down and down and down and down. You know what I'm saying? Now, if
That's
it's
a
a girl,
strong
definitely,
legacy.
I won't call her Faustina. It won't be a Faustina out there. It'll just be a girl name. Not like, George has Georgina or something like that.
Yes.
Georgina, something like that. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that with the girl. So yeah.
Well, you can still keep the F though.
Yeah, I can still keep the F. Like my brother named my niece Farah, and it's Farah with the F instead of PH.
Oh, that's pretty. Or you could use Phythressa.
What now?
Phythressa.
Phythressa?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever heard that name. Where did that name come from?
It just popped up in my head. I was looking at the spelling of your name.
Okay.
So I thought about Florence, and then yeah. Florida.
I take Florida over Florence.
Farstein.
Oh, you stretched it. Oh, that's stretched. Stretch right there. Ooh. I want her to be happy to be my daughter, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, but with the unique name, she wouldn't have a choice because when you hear that, it's her. No one else. You ain't got to look back or nothing. That's her.
I mean, I don't want it to be so unique that when it comes to get a job, everybody kind of just knows.
Yeah.
There's ambiguity out there on the resume. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Because Foster Hurt sounds like some type of security agency or mortar comeback. Sounds very strong.
I usually get that sounds like that's a money name, or like I do something with
An
when it comes
attorney.
to money. I usually get something finance related. I guess just because it starts with the L.
Well, physical therapist.
It certainly does sound like an attorney's name. I agree with you, Miss Fagan.
Yes. Someone, I'm gonna call my attorney. Well, who is your attorney? Mr. Foster Hurt the second. He said,
Gotta say the second.
Gotta put the second in there.
Right? If not, then you're talking about my dad. So.
And that's the big
second. I thought it was the third. Okay, I see it.
Give me one. All right, give me one.
Oh, she claiming it. She claiming it.
We can stand another little Foster running around. That'll be fantastic. Mm-hmm. So we still got we're going to give them to at least 12:05. We're sending out reminders for folks to, hey, we're here waiting for you. So, but we're not the first arrival waiting too long either. So
they're on CP time.
Well, you miss out a lot when you're on them people's time. That is not a good thing. But it happens. So
I used to tell my brother them, only thing y'all show up on time if it's free before 9.
Yeah, true.
There's an after party, a free after party, huh?
Yeah, I have to.
I learned my lesson. Don't go to them after parties unless you down with whatever.
I know, right?
They said, Sugar, you can't go to the, because they call me Sugar. Sugar, you can't go to the after party because you got morals and standards, and we want to hear that preaching. I'd be like, okay, that's fine with me. I'll watch y'all on
You
news.
shouldn't go to the other party because you have morals and standards.
Yes, that's how I wonder what goes down at these after parties. Like, oh my goodness.
That is too funny.
Not
Miss
the
I was
Fagan, are
always the
you
one they end up calling to come pick up, or did you cook this morning for breakfast? We're gonna come over. I'd be like, what kind of night did y'all have?
I know, right? Miss Fagan, are you an On the Rise client by chance?
I deal with them a little bit, yes.
I mean, have you come? Oh wait,
Not
here's
since you
somebody
guys
else.
not since you guys been in the new facility. I was dealing with you guys when you was in the old trailer with the leak.
Oh,
So have you been in for coaching yet?
No, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
I
Hi,
was
Miss
set for
Miss
I
Howell.
was set for coaching, but COVID hit and everything just shut down.
Everything changed. Okay, cool. Well, we got you covered today. You'll hear some stuff that will help you still be able to make that happen virtually. We're doing our sessions both group and one-on-one virtually. So we can still
Okay.
assist you even and maintain our COVID guidelines. So it looks like we had someone else join. Miss Howell,
Hello.
how are you?
That's our future district leader.
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good, good, good. Welcome.
Can you repeat that?
Welcome. Welcome to our session today.
Thank you for having me. Is this an ongoing session or is this like the first one?
No, we have a weekly lunch and learn at this
Okay,
time,
great.
same bad channel, same bad time, every Wednesday.
Okay, great.
We're just waiting. Well, we're 6 minutes in now, so I guess we can go ahead and get started. We wanted to give folks a few more minutes to join us, but we also want to be respectful of everybody's time who showed up on time. So the rest will have to catch up where we are. So if it remains a small, intimate group, we can pretty much dialogue and just have a conversation. And so feel free to jump in and ask questions as you see fit. But the first thing we're going to do is talk about who we are and what we do. The On the Rise Financial Center is a nonprofit that was stood up by the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, Equifax, and our fiduciary partner out of New York called Inclusive. Inclusive, well, I'm pretty sure you all know who Arthur M. Blank Foundation is, as well as Equifax. But Inclusive is a national credit union trade association. They provide technical support to now I think they are up to over 300 credit unions throughout the country, including Puerto Rico, the District of Columbia, and Hawaii, that's part of the United States now. So they are pretty well structured and established. And so we have 4 credit unions here that are members of that trade association who supports On the Rise as well. We have 2 that are somewhat in a greater distance than the other 2. One in Gwinnett County, that's Peach State Federal Credit Union. They're in Gwinnett County. Their primary field of membership is Gwinnett County employees. The other one is Bond Credit Union down in Little Five Points over on Moreland Avenue. For those of you who are not native Atlantans, wouldn't know maybe where Little Five Points are, where Little Five Points is. But it's the community right above that new shopping district over on Moreland Avenue, probably a mile north of that area. And Bond Credit Union services the merchants and residents in that community. The other two credit unions are a closer partners with us, and they are closer to us in proximity as well. One is First Choice Credit Union, and their largest field of membership is Grady Health System employees. The other one is Credit Union of Atlanta, and their membership is the City of Atlanta employees, firemen, police officers, all of the city employees are offered an opportunity to join that credit union. So that being said, all of those entities join forces to create On the Rise Financial Center, whereby we have a mission to help people build financial well-being and wealth through individual coaching and group education. Our coaches work individually with clients to help them improve credit, create budgets, build savings, provide information on making financial decisions, such as buying a home, starting a business, and preparing for other financial goals. The latter of that list is the reason why we are here today. Mr. Foster Hurt, the second, is going to be talking to you guys about retirement and investment opportunities. But I must offer a disclaimer to let you know that On the Rise does not endorse one investment firm or retirement entity over another one. We're here today to provide information. Although Mr. Hurt does write securities for Northwestern Mutual, we're not advocating for Northwestern Mutual. His presentation is gonna include some of that material, but we want to make sure you are made aware of the opportunities available to you in those two categories. Again, we'll be talking a little bit about retirement and investment vehicles. I'll let Mr. Foster introduce himself and give you his background. But that's what we're here for today. Our session is scheduled to end at 1 o'clock. But again, this is an open discussion. Please jump in wherever you need to if you have any questions. At this point, before I turn it over to Mr. Foster, does anyone have any questions thus far? All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Regina, for that introduction. Like she said, my name is Foster Hurt II. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself before I kind of go into the nuts and bolts of things. I was born here in Georgia, went to school at Morehouse, actually went to California for my graduate. I have my MBA in entrepreneurship with a minor in finance from California State San Bernardino. Actually did some business consulting while I was out there in California for a while. Actually moved back here around 2012, 2013, where I worked with Wells Fargo Advisors. Wells Fargo Advisors, did that for about 8 years. Worked for Regions Bank on the advisory and lending side for about 1.5 years. And just in the experiences and the certifications and the licenses that I've accumulated over time, I actually broke off and started my own practice. Recently, about 6-7 months ago, I started my own practice. The platform that I have or that I work on is Northwestern Mutual, but I'm still an independent broker, so I'm able to essentially do a lot of things outside of Northwestern Mutual as well. So that's just a typical background about myself. I am a financial advisor. One of the things that I pride myself on being able to do is helping my clients create and achieve financial security and financial success for themselves and their families. And one of the ways that I do that is by focusing on the foundation of 3 components when it comes to financial security and financial success. One would be wealth accumulation. The second component would be mitigating risk. The third component would be wealth preservation and distribution. Focusing on those components allows myself and my team to create an offensive and defensive strategy for my clients, right? So when we look at the 3 components, which I'll go into, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in. I love it when we can be as interactive as possible. But that first component, when we're talking about wealth accumulation, the strategy that we look at is, what does financial success look like for you? And that can be anything from owning one house to owning 10 houses. That could be, investing. That could be retiring and being actually financially free and not having to go back to work, right? Understanding what your idea of financial success and wealth is and creating a strategy around that, sort of working backwards to where you want to be from where you're at now. Being able to do that allows us to basically, again, give you a purpose, a reason for doing some of the things that you're going to do now because you're planning for the future. The second component, mitigating risk. We invest a significant amount of time in this because a lot of times people plan to achieve certain goals, but if life throws you a curveball, let's just say you get really sick, disabled, unfortunately, you may pass away too soon. You don't want to necessarily have a financial goal or whatever picture of financial success be for you to stop just because something happened to you. So we always talk a lot about, what type of guardrails do we have around your strategy, around your plan to ensure that you achieve that goal. Again, if you want to be the starter or be the starting point for your family's generational wealth, you're going to have to talk about certain things like life insurance. If cancer, I have a client where cancer runs, it runs through a family. You're going to have to talk about things about like disability and long-term care. Things that you want to have in place to where if something does happen to you, your dream doesn't stop. It may take a little while for you to get back on track, but the goal that you set for yourself and your family still can be achievable. And then last but not least, wealth preservation and distribution. That's where your retirement piece comes in. That's where, avoiding taxes, not paying so much on the money that you've earned or saved comes into play. So we create a plan around, hey, once we've kind of focused on the goals for those first two components, when it's time for you to actually live and reap the benefits of the goals that you've set for yourself and you've achieved, well, how do I actually live financially free for the remainder of my life? How do I pass on my wealth and my assets to my children, to my heirs, to my family, or even put it in a trust? So a lot of what I do is based around strategizing and planning, which is one of the reasons why I started my practice, is because I feel like our community does not do that very well. Oftentimes we don't do that at all. And you don't necessarily have to be making a bunch of money in order to be financially successful. Like I stated before, your financial goals, whatever picture of financial success looks like, is based on you, what you want and what you can do. Me starting my own practice allows me to work with a gambit of people, right? You can be, a teacher, police officer. You can be a, multi-millionaire. You can, own multiple franchises and businesses. Still, those three components are going to be different for everyone. And I'm able to strategize for my clients around, again, what your financial goals are, what financial stability looks like for you, and what financial success looks like for you as well. That's essentially what I do. How I do it, it does take, a couple of meetings. I do have an intimate conversation with my clients around their finances, their plans, their future financial goals, their future personal goals. Being able to incorporate that into the strategy is, kind of where the nuts and bolts come in at. So if anybody after this wants to, kind of have a sit down with me to, kind of have a conversation like that, I'll be free to get your contact information and give you a call later on. So with that being said, I'm going to open it up for Q&A, but, Ms. Howe, Ms. Figgins, am I pronouncing that right? Have any one of you ladies, or even Ms. Regina, has anyone here ever worked with a financial advisor before?
No, I haven't.
I have.
There was a no from Ms. Figgins, a no from Ms. Howe, and I think Ms. Regina, you said you have?
I have worked with them before.
Okay. Can you speak to any of the experiences that you've had with them before?
I recently purchased a home, so
Okay.
I just went through actually a lot of self-paced and I think I did work for an organization. I don't remember who it was. Just to make sure my finances were together so that I can make this big purchase. So I don't remember the details because I tried to be prepared before I went to them, so they wouldn't have to I do this, and this. So by the time I got to them, I was set and ready to go and, talk to the realtor, the lender, and just push forward to closing.
Okay, well, congratulations on your home, on purchasing your home. And typically, as a financial advisor, that goes in that wealth accumulation bucket that I was telling you about, or that I mentioned in the introduction. That's usually just one piece to, again, working towards those financial goals and things like that. Just, kind of further alluding on when it comes to purchasing a home. My experiences while working with Wells Fargo was in lending as well. So there are, various ways that we discuss, how you can utilize the equity in your home down the road as an asset, and utilizing that equity to gain more assets.
Right.
If that's something that you're interested, we can speak on that. I think that one of the sort of biggest, the largest value that I can provide for a lot of people also is having a conversation around, again, that retirement piece, that investment piece, and the mitigation of risk, protecting yourself for things that may happen, during your lifetime. A lot of times with retirement, we always focus on the employer-sponsored retirement option, right? That's the 401k, the 401, the 403b, 457. It's a whole host of employer-sponsored accounts and options out there. One of the things that I always sort of shine a little light on is that, you don't always have to sort of put so much weight on that employer-sponsored account. There are other things that you can have in place to ensure that when you retire, you really retire. Most people always say, hey, I want to retire at 55 or 65 or 67, whatever the age may be. Usually when you retire, you don't want to work. And a lot of times when I illustrate to people what you need to actually make to sustain your lifestyle after you leave your job, you realize that, hey, some of the things that I have in place for my retirement isn't going to be enough, especially if, as you get older, you may need medication. You may have to, more doctor's visits, that healthcare that you're relying on through your employer is now solely on you. So being able to sort of sit back and really look at what life is going to look like. I catch up with y'all. Appreciate it. All right. Being able to sit back and look at what life is going to be like once you leave your job is a huge, huge benefit that I can provide to any of the clients that I come into contact with, because that does help with, hey, if you need to save or put aside an extra couple dollars here and there in order into an IRA or into a brokerage account, that way your funds can grow a lot faster. That way you can protect some of your funds from Uncle Sam, because Uncle Sam, a lot of times with your retirement account may be pre-taxed, meaning at some point Uncle Sam is going to tax you. Yes, go ahead.
Not to interrupt you, Mr. Hurt, but I know you had sent me a couple of slide presentations. Do I need to prepare those for this meeting, or had you planned to share those today?
I can bring that up. The two sort of flyers that I sent you, one was just kind of going over Northwestern Mutual. The other one, kind of a plan for your life, kind of breaks down some of the things that I was talking about. So let me see if I can.
Well, I have to make you host for you to do it. So
you can pull up. It's the one that says a plan for your life or plan for your.
I'm gonna make you the co-host.
Okay.
And if you want to, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to make sure you included everything that you wanted to cover today. So you have co-host.
All right. All right. So let me see if I can show you guys this.
While he's pulling that up, I want to welcome, is it Miss Battle? Ms. Battle, are you there? Mr. Battle, I'm so sorry.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes, I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank
You
you.
came in at a good time. Today, I'm gonna save some of the introduction that we went over earlier, but just wanted to let you know we are discussing planning for your retirement as far as wealth accumulation, mitigating risk, and what was the third one, Mr. Foster?
That was wealth preservation and distribution.
Okay, so Mr. Hurt is going over some options and opportunities that you may find of interest that will help you prepare for, you know, your retirement or any investments that you may have heard about, be considering, etc. On the Rise is basically we focus more on personal finances as far as improving your credit, managing debt, building a budget for long-term long-term, short-term, and midterm financial goals you may have. So I'm gonna turn it back over to Mr. Hurt, but just wanted to welcome you to our session today. And we're pretty much just having a conversation about wealth accumulation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in at any time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Mr. Battle. So just to kind of give you, start back over a little bit, just so we can catch Mr. Battle up just a tad bit. This is essentially a plan for your money is a plan for your life. So what we talk about here is, again, in order to create that strategy, there's a couple of things that we do in order to create a financial strategy for you and advise you on that strategy. And one of the things that I'll tell everyone here is, utilize someone like myself as a resource, but I always encourage people to go out there and do your own homework, do your own research. So if you're advised or told, or even if you hear something, between friends, family, co-workers, just being out and about, don't take anyone for their word. Definitely go out and do your own research. But feel free to utilize resources such as myself just to ask questions. And what I tend to do is I'll answer your question, but I'll also give you a resource that you can look up yourself to confirm what I'm giving you. And in that way, you can kind of develop your own sort of thought process behind making a decision. Because one of the things that, you will want to do in order to be financially successful is knowing what you're getting into when you make that decision to move forward. That way, if something goes wrong, if something happens, or when something happens, you know either exactly what to do, you know what to expect, and you know how to essentially mitigate risk, which is one of those components that we were talking about. So it's just a general layout of how we sort of create that plan for you. Of course, with all of our clients, we definitely focus on first getting to know you, and again, that's where we're asking about your personal, professional, and financial goals on a 3, 5, 10-year basis. We definitely, in order to strategize, we have to look at where you're at now and relate that to where your goal is. And then we create that plan to reach those goals. And this is where we're, again, if we're relating it to, retirement, right? If you want to retire at 65 and you're planning on living another, 40 years, well, what is that going to look like for you financially? What's going to be paid off? How long is the employer-sponsored retirement account that you have in place? Well, how long is that going to last? What do you need to have in place to help supplement some of the things that you have in place? We also take a look at, how you're invested, both, either with a brokerage account or again with those, 401ks and things like that. As you go through life, your investment strategy should change. I would say if you're, younger than 40, you can still possibly be, very aggressive. If you're beyond 65, you definitely want to be a lot more conservative with some of your investments and some of your accounts that you have set up for your retirement. Again, that mitigating a risk, managing risk, making sure you're covered. This is one area where I think our community is not heavily invested. And I can give you the whole story behind that, but the part where you want to make sure you're covered, right? Making sure you yourself have coverages for your life, coverages for your income, coverages for your family, because you don't want life to throw you a curveball, which it always will do. And now you cannot achieve whatever financial goal you have because life threw you a curveball, or because something happened and you didn't plan for it. So again, I think a huge benefit, a very huge value that we bring to our clients is, again, putting those guardrails around your plan to ensure that whatever goal you set for yourself, you can reach it, regardless of what may come, regardless of what may happen. And again, that's where we have that one-on-one conversation around what those guardrails would look like. So as you are, in this house, place, after you've purchased your home, what's the next plan, right? How can we continue to develop on accumulating those assets, and then protect those assets and protect yourself as you continue to accumulate them. So again, that's where some of that value can come in at. And then, of course, giving recommendations. This is where, again, I always tell you to do your own research. We're going to give you a strategy based on your budget, your savings plan, protecting yourself, investment fundamentals, investment strategies. It's a tangible plan based, here's what you said you want to achieve. Here's some things that you can do to achieve it. And we give you an actual tangible plan. How you want to approach that plan is solely on you. We can advise you, again, that financial advisor part, but we can advise you on, where we would start. But if you want to start on, let's just say we give you point A, B, C, and D, and I say, hey, I think you should start on point C because of X, Y, and Z. You say, well, no, I feel a lot more comfortable with, I want to do A, B, C, and D, but I want to start on A first. Again, being able to have a plan and a strategy, I think that's where the hugest benefit for, people like us can help, any of our clients and the people that we come in contact with. And then checking on your progress. I keep up with all of my clients on a annual basis, or, if the relationship grows, of course, it's going to be more often, but, as you grow, your plan should change. Your strategy may change. You may want to retire and, kind of live here in Atlanta. You change your mind. Hey, I want to retire and move to California. I want to live, by the beach, 30 minutes away. Okay, let's sort of, change a couple of things so that way that goal can be achievable. So again, that's, kind of just a breakdown of kind of what we do and how we do it. And then, we kind of go from there. So I'll open the window for some questions. Does anybody here have any questions about anything? I'll take that as a.
I have a question. I wanted to, loud in the room. For people who have very little income, let's say for seniors or disabled people, how do we help? Two questions. How do we help them become more financially free? And how, because complete transparency, I'm running for a school board seat on Atlanta Public School. And one thing I want to do is I want to see us talk about finances more in the school. Now, I'm already having this conversation because I serve on different PTA, Go Teams, and stuff like that. But how do we help the seniors understand this stuff before they graduate? And then and this the high school seniors, right? And then how do we...
I thought you meant like older people.
I did too.
No, but that was the other question. How do we help them, be a little bit more financial free? Because I talked to my great aunt and she's like, well, babe, I only got $70 for food, and it's because they retired and whatever their set income is, right. It is that. And I don't know if it's a law like where maybe they can pick up some part-time work. A lot of them can't do it because of they're older. But how do we help, the younger people and the old? Or is it too late for the old, which I don't see it, but I just want to hear if we can do something.
I'll start with the young seniors first, because when you said seniors, of course, I went to like nursing home age, but
Right, I'm sorry.
so, you know, first of all, thank you for being in the educational field. My mom, she's a retired teacher, so I have a enormous respect for anybody that has to deal with raising other people's kids and you know, educating them as well. But I would say there's two important factors when it comes to educating, you know, the youth, especially those that are going from high school to college. First, everything's going to start at home. So educating the parents on these things that I'm talking about is always going to be first. You know, you're going to be, you know, most of us are going to be a product of our environment. So if we are, you know, for a case in point, right? You know, if your parents never talked about credit, never talked about interest rates, never talked about managing credit, managing debt, good debt, bad debt, then, you know, whatever credit mistakes they made, you will probably make because that conversation wasn't had. So I will always, you know, focus on educating the parents first. And then with the kids, I mean, it's you have to find different ways to educate them, but you know, definitely, I always say put people like myself in front of them. That way, you can necessarily talk to them about, you know, you don't have to be a certain age to invest in the market. You know, if you're working at a Finish Line or a fast food restaurant or Publix or something, you know, instead of buying those Jordans, you can invest in Nike. You know, what does that look like? How does that, you know, how does that intrigue your curiosity to go out and look and say, hey, instead of spending money on companies that I believe in, I can actually invest in those companies that I believe in. And what I invested in at 18 could, you know, largely affect my income when I'm 32, right? So just, you know, you have to, you know, intrigue or you know, get them to be curious about the money that they make and how they are spending it. You know, talk about different ways to spend your money. I think we are, you know, back in the day, a savings account was the only option, right? Put money in a savings account. It's going to give you a 1%, a 2%, a 3%. That's not going to happen now. The debt is too high. The markets are too, they're doing fairly well. So sort of transition from, hey, putting money in a shoebox or a savings account to putting money into a brokerage account. You know, putting money into an Acorn or Robinhood or a stash account. You know, that way you can actually see your money work for you. You can actually see that. But then also, again, going back to the house, the home, you know, speaking to the parents about, you know, hey, you know, regardless of your income, you know, have you sat down and just made a plan or strategize about the money that you make and how you're using the money that you make? And if it's solely going to bills, well, what bills can we pay off? And when we pay those off, what can we do with those additional funds? You know, a lot of this is budgeting. You know, if you don't have a lot of money, that means every dollar you make needs to have a job description. Even if you do make a lot of money, but when you make a lot of money, there's some surplus there. You can splurge a little bit more. But if you're a little bit more tighter, then every dollar you make needs to have a job description. Because if it doesn't, what's going to happen is you're going to make that money and it's going to go places. And I don't know if anybody's ever experienced this before, but you ever like just have some money and then on Friday, but then on Monday you're trying to figure out where did the money go? You know what I'm saying? Like, what did I spend my money on? Did you go back through your account and you only really spent,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? But somehow, you know, $300, $400, $500 went somewhere, and you're trying to retrack, and you're like, man, you know what? Those Uber rides, man, all those Uber rides are, you know, going to this place, spend money on that, or let someone borrow this. So not really sitting down and being tight. I always tell people this, and I help people who, you know, have a bunch of income and or a small amount of income. To me, yeah, that's one of the main reasons I started my practice is being able to help anyone, right? But you know, the less disposable income that you have, the more disciplined you need to be about where your money is going, right? So that's what I mean by job description for every dollar. If $1,200 is going towards bills, well, okay, there's 50, 69 going to this, there's 60, this going to this, there's this for my rent, this for the mortgage, whatever the case may be. So that leaves this amount of money. That leaves, I don't know, $200, $300, $400 for to the next 2 weeks. Well, what can I do with this $200, $300, $400? And it could be something as simple as, again, you know, setting it aside, right? Saving $200 a month or $300 a month, or however much you can save. So that way you can have, 3 or 4 months of expenses in your savings account. Once you achieve that goal, now we can take, instead of putting that money here, we can put that money into some kind of investment, right? We can put it into some type of annuity. If you're young, you can put it into a variable annuity. That way you can still participate in the market, but not have to go invest in individual equity stocks. So it's just, again, like being able to sit back and sort of make a plan for those dollars. So I say all that's for the younger crowd. For the older crowd, not necessarily too late, but you have to kind of take that same approach of, you yourself may be in a tight position, but what do you have in place for the next generation? Unfortunately, there may not be much, right? Your income is going to be pretty consistent. It's not going to go up and down. It's just going to be whatever it is. It says 1250, right? That's going to be there. What do you own anything, right? What are your assets looking like? What type of policies do you have in place? And when was the last time that you looked at your life insurance policy? And if you're able to get some, I would advise you to possibly get some. That could be, again, how you change the trajectory of your household, of your family. Again, I think that's one thing that, our community does not do enough of is generational wealth doesn't start with someone getting rich in a lifestyle and then, passing it on. It usually starts with someone passing on assets. But nowadays, it usually starts with someone passing on assets. Someone has, policies out of the wazoo, so they're passing on income, helping that next generation become financially free. And, the older generation can be a huge value for the younger generation by talking to them about the things that they did not have in place, things that they did not do. And again, if you don't want to be in the same place that I am, you might want to sit down with Foster and figure out what needs to be done in order, again, to change that trajectory for your household and your family for the next generation. I hope I answered your question.
Very good.
Any other questions? I think I don't know if Ms. Figgins had a question. Or yeah, Regina.
So, Mr. Hurt, can you talk a little bit more? I heard you mention about the Robinhood investment strategies. Can you give some insight on that? And I don't know if this one is in your area, but we're hearing a lot about Bitcoins and Litcom and all of that. Can you enlighten us a little bit on any of those?
I can a little bit. So, Robinhood, Stash, Acorn, they are essentially individual brokerage accounts. Those brokerage accounts allow you to participate in the market by, they act as a fiduciary in terms of allowing you to purchase either a percentage or a portion of a stock or a stock in itself entirely. And therefore you own it. So again, you're participating in the market in terms of investing in a company. So but they don't charge you sort of like a transactional fee, right? They don't charge you for the buying and selling of, those stocks, those ETFs and things like that. They do have a hold on what you can invest in. So that way they keep the fees that they have, they're extremely low. So, that's typically, anybody that wants to sort of just invest, like, let's just say, again, if you want to invest in Nike or you want to invest in, any one of these companies out here, you can definitely go through, Robinhood if you don't have a lot of money. If you do have a decent amount, you can go through TD Ameritrade, any one of your banks to open up a brokerage account, which allows you to, fully invest in the market. But those are self-managed accounts, basically.
Okay.
Those are within the strategy because I'm going to always promote people to, the days of the savings account giving you a 4%, back in the day, 2%, those are long gone. The days of a CD, giving you a 4% or 2.5. I think I heard somebody like back in the 80s, it was like 13, 14%, right? The days of CDs giving you those double digit sort of returns on an annual basis, those are pretty much done for the most part. So, what are some things you can do that'll yield you more than what a savings account or a CD would do? I always say a brokerage account. You just taking that, take a little bit of the money that you have after you've saved up money. Again, I'm an advocate for you having at least 3 to 6 months of savings into your account before you start worrying about investing. And those two can go hand in hand. If you're going to put $1,000 in an investment account, you should probably put either half or somewhere near that in your savings account as well. You have that liquidity there, so if something happens, you're not tapping back into that brokerage account to pay for an emergency. But those self-managed accounts, I'm always going to promote that within your strategy after we kind of see what that strategy is. In terms of Bitcoin, it is a highly volatile, I would say, instrument. I'm not a proponent for it because of the volatility of it. It's always based on how someone perceives the value of a digital fund or digital dollar on that day. So if the right person says, hey, the Regina coin is worth X, Y, and Z today, people go out and buy it, right? But then let's say the next day, someone comes out and says the Regina coin is not worth that much. Now you've lost all that value, right? So it's the volatility of it is always just based on the perception of a couple of people, and who knows how they're gonna feel when they wake up that day. But the stories that you hear on the news or online and social media, those are usually the good stories where somebody put in $1,000 and the next day they came back with 20,000. I mean, that happens, but that's not the norm.
Right.
Usually,
but there's a cash out issue with that. I've heard on the streets, people have put in, using your example, $1,000, $5,000, and in a short period of time, their investment is worth hundreds of thousands, but they have not been able to figure out how to cash out.
Because they still have to sell what they own in that Bitcoin, and somebody still needs to want to buy it back from them.
Gotcha.
Right? The simplest way to break down anything in the market in terms of buying and selling something is if you purchase something that's worth $1 today and is worth anywhere in the market $2 tomorrow. Well, when you sell it, someone's willing to purchase it for $2, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you go to any store or anything where you're buying something and when you're buying something, right, and then trying to sell it somewhere else. Let's just say you bought that same thing, that day and it's $1, and then the next day it's only worth 50 cents. Well, now you're working, with something that's worth 50 cents as opposed to something that was worth, $1 the next day. Bitcoin kind of works the same way. Well, yeah, the value of it have skyrocketed, but again, it was based on a lot of speculation and things like that. And when it's time to capitalize on that hundreds of thousands of dollars, well, the buyer, because now you're the seller, right? You're the seller now. The buyer may not want all of that from you and may not want to pay all of that to you, knowing that the next day it may be only worth $1,000 the next day. So the market will start to adjust in a sense, because now everybody's starting to buy in on this whole Bitcoin thing. And it's almost like a quick flip. It's addictive because it's a quick flip. People feel like, again, they can go in, make some quick money and get right back out. The investing is not necessarily a short-term instrument. It's really a long-term play instrument when you look at the, really, how it's set up. It's not set up for you to make a quick buck in a month or two. Although you can, if you are, really on top of things, you can do that. But it's not really set up for you to make a quick buck. It's set up for your money to grow over time. And hopefully what you bought 5 years ago is worth 5 times as much as it was 5 years ago, right? Like if you look at your 401k, and you see your employer matches you, 6%, let's just say 1 year you only have invested $6,000, but the value of it is 12. But that means everything inside of your 401k has a value twice as much as what you put in for. So it's more of a long-term play than it is a short-term gain where you get in and get out.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? We still have about 10 minutes.
Hey, this is Lawrence. And
Hey, Lawrence.
I guess just following with what you all were just talking about with Robinhood and with cryptocurrency. So, and more of my question is to really understand the philosophy that you use to guide your clients. So take me, for instance, I agree with you on cryptocurrency. It's volatile, is speculative, but I invest in it as part of my strategy. It's more long-term, and I understand the nature of Bitcoin. I mean, a few days ago, it was 31,000. Today is 38,000. Tomorrow it could be who knows what, right?
Right.
So I tend to take a percentage of my overall investment portfolio and say, hey, this is dedicated. And I understand it's speculative, but for you and guiding your clients, because, obviously you probably get folks like me who we're going to say, hey, I hear what you're saying. But given what my wealth goals may be and what my plan may be, do you then take that into account to say, hey, although I may not feel like cryptocurrency is maybe a good way to start investing, if that's your thing, Lawrence, and that's what you do, and I understand your goal overall, here's how I would help you to position yourself. Like, do you have those kind of conversations with people who invest in cryptocurrency? And I hope all that makes sense.
Yeah. Excellent question, Lawrence. Yes, I do. Everyone's financial picture and everyone's investment strategy is much like a fingerprint. It's going to be different, right? Your strategy is going to be based on what you're capable of doing, what you're capable of gaining, and what you're capable of losing, right? Because of the volatility and because of some things that you may have set up, you may be, I have clients that are invested heavily in the Bitcoin, but that's because they can stand a loss. They have the things prior to, those volatile investments, they have those things in place, right? The things that we talked about early on. So yeah, your strategy is going to be a lot different, but of course, your entire portfolio has to be set up to where it can stand to, take a loss if it had to, and it can stand for huge gains if it does hit, right? So, going from 31 to 38, right? But then I will always ask, where else are you invested? So that way, if it goes from 38 to, let's say, 21, then do you have something in place to sort of combat that loss, right? And that's where, again, the strategy comes into play at, because, I wouldn't want you to just solely be invested in highly volatile, types of investments. I would definitely say, let's look at your entire portfolio and let's put some safety measures in there, man. Let's have a couple of dollars go to some bonds. Let's go to some blue chip companies. let's go to a couple of things that, you know, the dividends may not be high, but they're always consistent every year. So that way that volatility doesn't hurt your portfolio as a whole. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I don't advise against it, but if you're not in a place where you can stand to lose, I would definitely say, hey, you know, let's take a step back, right? It's almost like think about it like this, right? When you're trying to purchase a home, which I'm pretty sure everyone here is either trying to have or whatever the case may be, right? And you get pre-approved for, you know, 250,000, right? But technically, you know your pockets. You know you will be house poor if you bought at 250, but you will be living comfortably if you bought at 185, right? Someone like myself will look at everything and say, hey, Lawrence, like, I know you got pre-approved for 250 and I know you want this house at 250, but I'm just saying as a homeowner, you know, if the roof needs to be fixed, if there's a leak, if there's something where you still got to make your mortgage payment and a couple things go wrong, then, you know, you're going to have to make some hard decisions, right? And I won't want you to be to the point where you're maxing out every month, you know, just because you wanted to live in a house at 250. Let's look at something around 185, 195, where, you know, maybe you can dress it up and make it look as good as the house worth 250, but at least you have some things in place so that when danger comes, you can mitigate that risk, right? It's just like that with your portfolio, right? I wouldn't tell you to be heavily invested in something, you know, extremely volatile when you don't have anything in place to mitigate the risk of losing money, right? So, you know, I hope that answers your question. You know,
It does, yeah. No, it does, and I agree with you 100% on that. You know, I'm no financial advisor, so if anyone asks me, I tell them don't talk to me. I do what I do, and I don't want to be responsible for your loss.
And you know what, Lawrence, we tell them the same thing. Like, look, don't come to me when I'm telling you you could lose. And they're like, well, you told me. No, I didn't tell you. I gave you some scenarios and you did your own research and made your own decision. So, you know, again, any advisor would definitely tell you, hey, look, you need to have a thorough understanding of what you're getting into. All I can do is advise, but you make the decision. You know, I give you all the resources and information that you need to make the best decision, but you yourself, you have to make that decision. And I always say, hey, if this stuff goes belly up, do you understand how and why it could go belly up, right? That way, if it does, you're still comfortable with the decision you made.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions?
All right then. Well, so want to go ahead and thank you, Mr. Hurt, for your presentation. Everybody, if you want to give him a thumbs up or a hand clap or whatever you like to thank him for the wonderful information he shared with us today. I'm actually in the process of trying to send a link to everyone who have not decided to come in, who have yet not decided to come in for coaching for a coaching session with one of our coaches. If you like, we can reach out directly to you. If you would provide your contact information in the chat, we will do that. I've also provided the link for our website for you to schedule an appointment as well. So if all hearts and minds are clear, again, thank you so much, Mr. Hurt. It was a wonderful presentation with a lot of good information. Okay. Please be on the lookout, guys, for updates on our next session, which again will always be on Wednesdays from 12 to 1.
And I also I left my name and email address there. So if you guys had any questions, or again would like to just sit down and talk to someone, I'm more than happy, more than willing to set up an appointment with you, and we need to talk virtually, via phone, or meet face to face.
Before we hang up, thank you, Mr. Foster. There's a couple of people reaching out and wanting to be contacted, but I will need at least your telephone number for us to follow up with you?
Sure.
So if you could put it in the chat, that would be fantastic.
I have my email in there too as well.
Okay. Mr. Battle, do you want to put your phone number?
Yeah, I'll put that in there.
Okay.
Just send it.
Ms. Fagan, Ms. Howard, Ms. Howe. How about you ladies? Are you interested in receiving one-on-one coaching?
Yes, I'm gonna reach out to Mr. Forrester. I got his information.
Well, his information is going to be a little bit different. He's going to work with you on retirement and investment strategies. We will work with you on personal finances as far as improving credit, reducing debt, etc.
Okay.
So if
Well,
you
I'll
want
get in
to put your
contact with
number,
you. Yes, Ms. Regina.
okay, if you will put your number in the chat before we hang up, that'll be fantastic. And you can just send that directly to me, you don't have to copy all.
Oh. Already did.
So when you go in the chat, there's a window that says 2. If you click the drop down arrow, my name will pop up, and that means you're only sending
Oh,
a
okay, I
message
see it.
to me.
Gotcha.
Yep, you did good. Mr. Battle, did I get 2 numbers from you? Who is this other? Oh, that was Mr. Hurt there. Okay, Mr. Battle. 196, okay. And Ms. Fagan, how about you, Ms. Howell? Ms. Howell,
No, thanks, I'm fine.
you're good?
Mhm.
Yeah, I was laughing with Mr. Hurt when when you were saying the seniors, you needed information for the seniors. I was thinking older people as well, but I'm really glad you're
Right.
interested in helping the high schoolers, because the sooner we can catch them, the better off they will be. So kudos to you for that. And I hope you will spend some time with Mr. Hurt to help build strategies on how to help those kids, find out what they need to know as much in advance as possible.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, that's all we have. We're right at 1 o'clock now. Again, look forward to seeing you guys again next Wednesday at 12. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You do as well.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mr. Foster.
No problem. My pleasure.
All right, thank you.